Alright fellas, here we are back at Pokemon Masters, and we're taking a look here at Sygna Suit Silver and Eusine's double banner rerun for alongside their event, the Chase and Everyone story event, right? So, obviously, they came out I don't know why it's obvious for anyone who has not played since, whatever. These characters initially released back in June of 2023 alongside their story event, and now they're getting their rerun. And I will say that I think these characters have aged pretty well. I mean, they're almost a year old now. It's May. They released in June. They're still good. Neither of them were the best in their field on release, but and they still aren't. Well, let's be real. They still aren't, but they're still strong. Like, they are still strong characters. Mostly ones that I would say are probably going to be obtained for the fact that you like the character or the pair, and less so because of the meta, simply because in Eusine's case, water has a ton of competition, so he really would need to be very strong in order to actually take over like a lot of slots, like new champion Serena, Dahlia, or Sygna Suit Lysander, right? Like, you would really have to compete with a lot of other characters in order for Eusine to really make a difference there. Not saying Eusine's bad at all, because he's not. I'm going to showcase him with his EX roll sometime. Hope maybe tomorrow. No promises, but I'm going to try. Like, he's good for sure, but just really, he's outclassed by the fact that there is just going to be a better water type because of how absurd that typing is. Silver is in a similar case, though. To Silver's credit, he does do things quite a bit different than doing just damage. He's got a lot of sync acceleration stuff and a few other things like debuffs, which is relatively unique for the most part to him. But he's generally also just outclassed in in an ice team by Palatine's Candace, for one, and most notably, Neo Champion Red, Irida, that combination. Yeah, they just kind of completely shit. They just kind of completely shit on Silver, which is fair enough, I guess, right? So that's pretty much the biggest thing to note there, is that these characters are good. That is for sure. They are definitely good. They can definitely do a lot of good different things, and whatever, add to that little spiel all you want. But they are definitely outclassed is the problem that I'm facing here, or a problem that I'm facing when, I guess, reviewing them and not going, they're stupidly broken or anything like that. So they also did get their EX rolls. Eusine got the Tech EX roll, and Silver got the Support EX roll. Eusine's EX roll is good for him. Field would have made him a little bit more impactful in terms of, not really runability, but like in terms of like options. Eusine getting the Field EX roll would have been a little bit better, but obviously being a damage dealer, getting your damage to be increased is pretty much always going to be good. So the Tech EX roll, for the most part, does help out Eusine quite a bit, especially because he does have a pretty respectable nuke, as is. Silver got Support, which is pretty much in the same manner as Dojo Gloria. Not really that crazy. I will say that the Support EX roll is not too bad on Silver, because this does allow him to make utilization of Adrenaline 2 in a base kit, so you will be able to mess around with that, get that Support EX in, get the Adrenaline in, and all that stuff, right? So he can make abuse of it that way. I do think Sprint would have been better for him, not for the fact that, like, he would benefit more, I guess, from Sprint, but for the simple fact that he is one of the very, very few non-support characters that actually would like to utilize the the Sprint EX roll. So him not getting it is kind of hindering the options of, I guess, Sprint characters that characters that can actually make bigger abuse of the Sprint EX roll. Because otherwise, we're just going to get more stuff like Poppy, who just, they get it for no reason, which, I mean, it's an upgrade for Poppy, sure, but it's just, it doesn't, why? But whatever. Let's go ahead and look at the kits, I guess. So, Silver's already pulled up. I guess we'll start out with him. So, Silver's base kit at 1 out of 5 without the EX roll, at 6-star EX, rather, level 140. He's got 444 attack, very respectable, over 200 in both defenses, 699 health, nice, and then 440 speed. Very fast, pretty powerful, pretty good bulk stats. Not much else to really critique there. It's good. And with the Support EX roll, his defense goes up to 256, special defense goes up to 270, HP goes to 759, and level 150 will, of course, increase that even further. And those are some pretty damn solid defenses. I will give it to Silver. Those are actually some pretty damn solid defenses, and that's kind of crazy to me that they're kind of that good. I mean, HP is not low by any means. Defenses are pretty solid for a character that's not meant to take hits. If he had some sort of like innate defensive buffing ability for himself, then it could be pretty good. Which, I mean, he might, depending on what you are trying to pick up, I guess. But wow, sure. Definitely gonna be good for the Gauntlet, 100%. That's gonna be a great thing for the Gauntlet. Anyone who wants to try and do some souls with Silver. Anyway, his main gimmick is having Triple Axle, which is a 20 base power, 90 accuracy move that hits up to 3 times in a row, and the attack's power is increased for each hit. The second attack is twice as powerful as the first attack, and the third attack is 3 times as powerful as the first attack. After using the move, the attack's power returns to normal. Basically, the first hit on Triple Axle will be 20 power, the next hit will be 40 power, and the last hit will be 60 power, totaling up to be 120 base power, assuming that all of them land, right? Triple Axle works by it will hit 3 times if it doesn't miss. If you land the first Triple Axle with its 90% accuracy rate, it will then try to trigger the second hit, and if the second hit lands, then it will continue on to try and go to the third hit, and if that lands, then the attack is completed. If any of those miss, it will just stop there. Like, for example, if the first attack lands, but the second attack doesn't land, then you only landed that first attack. That's it. Right? So it's not like a random 1 to 3 chance or anything. It is dependent completely on accuracy, which means that if you buff Silver's accuracy by any means, then you will be effectively, at the very least, lowering your chances dramatically of having Triple Axle land, less than 3 times, which is obviously good. He does have his buddy move, Crushing Triple Axle, which is effectively of the same gimmick. It's a 2-gauge, 1-use move. It has base 40 power. Activation condition is only when his health is full, which is a pretty shitty condition, I would say, especially if you're trying to run in with half HP in the stadium. That's just not really going to work. It's pretty annoying, but hey, that's just how they made it work, I guess. Sure, I don't really like that condition, but whatever, I guess. The attack hits up to 3 times in a row. It's got the same gimmick of the second attack being twice as powerful as the first, and third attack being 3 times as powerful as the first. And then it reduces sync countdown by 1 for each hit, raises his crit by 1 for each hit, and after using the move, the attack power returns to normal. Not that it matters, because you can't use the move again. So this is effectively, I guess, a double in power Triple Axle. First hit will be 40 power, second hit will be 80 power, last hit will be 120 power, totaling up at 240 base power for Crushing Triple Axle. Though sadly, the thing with this move is that you're not going to be able to make massive abuse of that base power because you're very likely going to be using it early on in the battle where you don't have any sync buffs, or the enemy does not have any defensive debuffs, or you don't have any, or at least many physical moves next, or something like that, right? Like, you're not going to be able to make full abuse of this move or trying to empower it as much as possible because you want to use it to buff Silver's crit, you want to use it for the sync countdown, and you have to use it while Silver's HP is still full. Obviously, you can fix this issue by bringing, like, potions or something, but generally speaking, using this buddy move is going to be earlier on in the battle than later, because it's probably just not really worth it to try and get like, the crit buffs or anything like that, or try and maintain Silver's HP, anything like that later on in the battle. It's probably just better to go for it early on. You could probably make it work otherwise, but still, I mean, this condition just kind of sucks. It really does. But whatever. He's got his 2 trainer moves, X Speed Plus for raising his speed by 3 stat ranks, and his trainer move, which applies gauge acceleration and attack raises by 3. 2 uses, of course, so he is able to max his attack, speed, and crit, albeit quite slowly, granted. Like, that is definitely a very slow buffing for himself, but whatever. He has Adrenaline 2 as stated, right? Reducing sync countdown by 2 on the first sync move. Dripping Strike 9 for debuffing enemy speed every time an attack move lands. It's based, however many times Triple Axle lands, it'll debuff speed by that many amount, or that amount rather. So up to 3 debuffs in one move. And then Inertia, more his speed is raised, the greater the power of his sync move, on top of his innate multiplier of a Cakewalk, which more enemy speed is debuffed, the greater the power of this attack. That is one good thing about Silver for sure, is that he does have the innate Inertia as well as the innate Cakewalk, so he's got 200% in total nuking multipliers as a 1 out of 5 sync pair, which is definitely really good for sure, especially because he does have, again, a respectable offensive stat, and he does, of course, have the Tech Nuke, so he's got the 300 base power. He's going to be doing pretty good. He's going to be doing a pretty solid nuke just at 1 out of 5, and of course that will be getting better with his grid for sure, so that's nice. And looking at the grid at 1 out of 5, he doesn't really have too much here. And Silver's kit, I don't think is like that crazy. The DPS option could be better. 120 base power, mostly limited to the fact that he needs accuracy buffs, which is already not that great. Is fine, I guess. That's a fine DPS option. You can't make full abuse of the powerful potential power, rather, of the buddy move, just because you're most likely going to be using it early in battle. He takes a long time to set up. You're really going to need a support that can buff his speed or attack or anything like that, which most do, so that's not really that big of a problem. Someone like Argento would be a good support for Silver, being able to buff the speed, attack, and crit as well, so there's that. That does work just fine there. And of course, also to fully activate the nuke, you require speed buffs and speed debuffs, so it's going to be taking you at least a few turns in order to actually maximize Silver's nuke. And also, he does really want a partner to be able to do AoE damage, because he does not have a method of doing that. He is purely single target. Tech nuke is only one target. Triple axle is only a single hitting move, or a one opponent hitting move, I guess. So you probably will need some way to deal with sides. And especially because you're probably going to be focusing on trying to debuff the middle, Silver's not going to be having his nuke activated for the sides. Or at least not full nuke activated for the sides. Probably. But whatever. So that's probably the main issues that I would put out with Silver. But still, good, right? Good offensive stat, fine base power move, good nuke, all that. At 2 out of 5, he gets Buddy, Triple Axle, Accuracy +5, Trying to Move NPR, Triple Axle, Gauge Refresh, Endurance, Burst In, Slippery 1, and I'm not even going to bother with that. XP 1, Slippery 1. Or sorry, XP plus Slippery 1. And then Acuity and Haste, I guess. Random debuff, ability, immunity, sure, whatever. Burst In, giving him critical hit next on entry. This is good for guaranteeing a crit on Triple Axle, crushing Triple Axle, so you can potentially get some decent power out of this. That's all I really got to say about that. I mean, that's not much else to say, right? If you're not going to bring a support that's able to buff Silver's crit, then having the burst in is going to be helpful for making you do at least a little bit more damage on your crushing triple axle, so you're not just failing to do crits, right? He does have endurance as well. When he enters the battle with full HP, applying endurance, this is pretty decent, especially because, at least in Stadium, you're probably never going to want to pick up half HP parameters, because you want to have the crushing triple axle activated probably on entry, so having the endurance available as well is pretty nice, right? Because it only activates on full HP. It's fine, sure. Endurance is not too bad, allows you to survive KOing attack. Pretty basic ability, but still pretty decent. And then Buddy Triple Axle, Accuracy +5, just so you can make sure your Buddy move has a little bit higher chance of landing all of the times it needs to. Though generally, I think this is a fine node to pick up if you are really struggling with luck, but generally speaking, I think you'll be fine just to reset in case like the Buddy move may miss or something, just because you're going to likely use this move early on in the battle. So do you really need to worry that much about his accuracy? Because you're just going to be resetting if it misses anyway. But that's just my thoughts. And then Trying to Move NPR for probably more gauge acceleration if you need it. He does have Slippery 1 for evasion buffs. Does help out his defensive prowess a little bit. Probably just mostly a good gauntlet ability, though, I would say. So, I guess a decent 2 out of 5. 3 out of 5, he gets Invigorating Hail, Heavy Hail 5, Hunter's Instinct, Cakewalk, Sync Nodes, Mighty Rush 9, Super Command, I guess. Triple Axle, Restoring Strike, and Pinpoint Entry 2. So, that's a lot of good nodes, and you can't pick up all of them. Invigorating Hail and Heavy Hail, he's probably not going to be able to make full utilization of, for the simple fact we don't have a good Hail support, and our only other good Hail character is Irida, which, if you're going to be out of Stadium or anything like that, then this is not a bad setup, running Irida with Silver. I think they may have a little bit of nuke overlap. Nah, Silver's nuke is better. It's fine. Silver's nuke is going to be better than Irida's, probably. Well, Irida's got the Master Passive. Yeah, no, at 3 out of 5, Silver's nuke is going to be better than Irida's for the most part. So you can run them together, get Irida's Hail, and as well as the Ice Zone. So he is going to be making abuse of that for the 50% DPS buff, as well as the 50% nuke buff. Hunter's Instinct for a 30% DPS buff as well is also very, very nice there too. You're going to be needing the debuff speed anyway with Tripping Strike, so this is fine. He's got Cakewalk as well again, so he has 350% total nuking multipliers, which is really good. 100%, like hands down, that is a very good nuke. Double Cakewalk's not bad to activate because of the Tripping Strike. Inertia's not bad to activate as well. The Hail's not bad if you're going to be running him with Irida. I would say Irida's the only character. Well, yeah, because you don't set Hail, do you? You only set Ice Zone. I'd say Irida is like the only Hail character that you're really probably looking to run Silver with. I guess like Red obviously can set Hail on the first Sync move, but I think that's a little bit too inconsistent to rely on. And either way, if you're running Red, then Silver is really just probably not going to be doing too much, because good lord, so Red's got a crazy nuke in itself in its AoE, so keep that in mind. But I just can't really think of any other like Hail setter that is really worth running with Silver other than Irida. I would rather just kind of skip out on this stuff if I was not running Silver with Irida. But that could just be me. Pinpoint entry does allow for accuracy buffs. Obviously, you want to make sure these triple axles land, because I know 90% accuracy looks good, but when you are in battle and you are trying to land in upwards of 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 triple axles, having those, they are going to miss. They are going to miss when you need them to land. Trust me on that one. This guy's, the 90% accuracy is very close to 50. All right, I'll tell you that. It is that bad, right? Just mathematically speaking, landing a 90% chance 3 times is already not 90%. I don't think you need me to tell you that, but it can be pretty annoying. So pinpoint entry, even just as a lucky skill for that, honestly, is not a bad run. Just being honest with you, because you do want to be sure these moves can land a lot more consistently, rather. Restoring Strike on triple axle is also good for the Gauntlet, 100%. Does help out again with his defensive prowess on top of Slippery 1 here, and his defensive abilities with the support EX roll. So he is going to be quite defensive and probably a solid solo character if he handled more gimmicks, right? Because like he doesn't have any status conditions, so he's not handling Covalion or Tornadus. He doesn't have flinches, so he's probably not going to be handling like Moltres or anything that's just super high powered that he can't just like out heal or infinitely dodge or something like that. I don't know. So like those are probably the biggest problems with Silver there in the Gauntlet, is like big lack of flinch or turn denial, I guess. But he does have healing and he does have dodge. That is something. And then Mighty Rush 9, 100% chance of increasing physical moves next by 1 after using the Sync move. That's not really that worth picking up. It's there. As for the grid, I don't know, man. If you're wanting to maximize his nuke, then I guess this, right? If you're going to try and maximize Silver's nuke and damage, this is something you should probably pick up. I would recommend an accuracy buffer so bad. As stated, Argenta is a great support for Silver, buffing his speed, attack, physical moves next, crit, and whatever. But also she buffs accuracy, which is an ability that I think not a lot of people remember about Argenta. She's able to buff accuracy here with the status move team accuracy up 2, right? Buffing accuracy. Very good aspect of Argenta. 100% would recommend when running her with Silver here. So -2 energy, just invest that, get yourself all the extra power here for your full nuke. Silver's nuke is good. I don't think that needs to be have extra statement, but I figure it may as well. I need to find Silver. Sygna Suit Silver. Sygna Suit Silver. Buddy move, triple axle. I mean, yeah, it's a powerful. Okay, if we look at the power of the Buddy triple axle, this is probably under like optimal conditions and actually trying to get it activated. So there is a caveat here. Like it can be powerful, obviously, but right, you're going to be using it early on. You're probably not going to have it like much to activate it. Whatever. And then if we look at his sync move, yeah, Sygna Suit Silver's got an amazing nuke, and this is without the X roll here. He's got 7.8 million. Don't really look at these numbers as like exact measurements. Just look at it as a decent enough range of what other characters are able to do. And you can see that Silver's definitely got a great nuke, for sure. Like comparable to Dahlia, Sygna Suit Wally, other great nukers, right? Silver is definitely up there, which is nice, great. Of course, always good. At 4 to 5, he gets Punching Strike 4 on triple axle, 50% chance to debuff defense when attacking that enemy, and obviously it's like Tripping Strike 9, but 50% chance instead. So you could get some defense debuffs in there, very, very useful as well, just free empowerment for Silver. Evasive Strike 9, raising evasion by 1 when the move lands, multi-strike move lands, so after landing at least 6 triple axles, or Buddy triple axles, he will be able to get +6 evasion, effectively needing to ignore Slippery on X speed plus, and just like another gauntlet ability. That's all this really is, in my opinion. A very good gauntlet ability. Whatever the fuck. And then 5 to 5 gets Soften Up 1 for easier crits. Probably not really too necessary since he is a tech character. Missing those crits is a little bit less likely than a striker where you have, 3 opponents. and a Fortunate Strike 9, guaranteeing a debuff against one random stat. And if the move has the multi-strike tag, 100% of randomly debuffing one stat for every time the move lands, right? So now he's got random debuffs on top of his guaranteed speed and speed debuffs and high probability of defensive debuffs. So you can definitely make Silver look like a debuffing god. Very good for Latias, I guess. So that's nice, right? He's going to have some good debuffing abilities. For the most part, I would say all of these abilities are probably... Okay, well, actually, Punishing Strike 4 is good. I would say that these abilities are all not really worth going for outside of a Gauntlet scenario. But inside of a Gauntlet scenario, Unfortunate Strike and Evasive Strike are going to be really solid, on top of, like, Restoring Strike and whatnot as well. So that is definitely good for Silver. As for picking up Punishing Strike, just do this, yeah. Like, that's a lot simpler of a grid to make, right? Just invest this much, the extra grid energy, get this, that's his full nuke. Again, if you are not running Silver with Irida, I really don't think that there is another character that is too much worth running him with that couldn't just be alleviated by a secondary DPS option. So I just wouldn't run these nodes if you're not running him with Irida. Gives you a lot of extra energy, could pick up Pinpoint Entry if you're not running him with an accuracy buffing support, could pick up Evasive Strike, could pick up Restoring Strike, whatever. Just kind of make your grid however you want to. Though for the most part, empowering Silver's nuke and DPS with Invigorating Hail and Heavy Hail is mostly worth going for. So at the end of the day, Silver does have a good nuke. He does have the caveats of that accuracy issue, which can be mitigated with some investment or good supportive partners. And he does suffer quite a bit from the existence of characters like Candace and Neo Champion Red, who are pretty much just better than him. Though he does again make himself unique with the debuffs for speed, defense, random debuffs with Unfortunate Strike, as well as the sync countdown utility with Adrenaline 2 and the -3 on the buddy move. He does make himself look relatively unique and still is a very strong character. There's not much there that needs to be denied. Not sure if I'll showcase Silver. I don't know what stadium weaknesses there are. I could pull that up, but I'm not going to. So I'll just leave that as is. I may have already done it. I think I've done a showcase for Silver anyway already, so it's fine. Not that it matters. Whatever. Let's go ahead and look at Eusine. So Eusine, we're probably doing bad on time, aren't we? Yeah, 22 minutes, and we're only just now talking about Eusine. That's not good. Whatever. Eusine is a water striker on top of all the other water strikers, and again, Eusine's biggest issue at the moment is probably the fact that he's got immense competition, man. Like, he was already competing with Sygna Suit Lysander on a release, and I'm pretty sure Lysander was winning that battle, but now he's still got other competition with characters like Dahlia, who have recently released, as well as probably the EX role for Dojo Gloria. So he's really kind of suffering, and also for the fact that there is a pretty solid probability of mixed Leaf in September with Blastoise, giving us probably another water character, probably another special attacking water character that's really going to be making Eusine compete a little bit, even more for runability on water teams. But again, that does not mean that he's bad either. So Eusine at level 146 star AX, he's got 787 health, he's got 191 in both defenses, 328 special attack, 377 speed. Very low offensive stat, I would say, for a modern striker. Obviously, he's a year old, but still, even back then, that's definitely pretty low. But it is made up for the fact that he does have very consistent DPS with Purifying Surf, as well as having a very good nuke when full investing in the grid. That is probably the biggest reason on why his offenses were this low. Though he does get the Tech EX roll, so his offenses do go up to a maximum of 362, which is definitely a lot more respectable. I do think for the simple fact that Eusine's offensive stats are as low as they are, that he is worth investing into level 150, even if he is not a favorite character, which, if he's not a favorite character, I don't know why you're pulling for him anyway, or investing into him anyway. Like, obviously you could pull him off the Mix Scout or something, but if you're going to be investing into like 3 out of 5 or higher, then I don't know why you wouldn't do that if he isn't already a favorite. So just invest at level 150, get the higher special attack. I think he could really make utilization of it a lot more than other characters with already higher offensive stats do. But that's just me. And of course, with all the other buffs from the Tech X roll and whatnot, all of his other stats do increase quite a bit. 220-ish, 219, whatever, in both defenses, 879 health, 395 speed. Very respectable stats overall for a striker character. Yada yada. Special attack, again, pretty low, but is made up for by that fact. Whirlpool is his moves. He's got Whirlpool here. It's a 2-gauge move. Targets an opponent, leaves the target trapped. This is mostly just for multiplier activation for the most part. It does have Blizzard as well, 3-gauge move, 128.6 base power, never misses in hail, has a 10% chance of freezing, so he does make utilization of Blizzard damage. This could be pretty good, depending on what enemy you're facing. Any Ice Weak enemy, he will probably be doing some good damage with Blizzard, but for the most part, you're going to be avoiding Blizzard for Purifying Surf, which is a 4-gauge move, 160 minimum base power, targets all enemies. Activation conditions when the user uses any move twice, and then it cannot be deactivated. Very good condition, especially relatively speaking with his counterpart, Sygna Suit Silver. And it's got a 20% chance to make the target flinch, and the power and chance of applying additional effects are not lowered even if there are multiple targets, so he does not have to worry about split damage. Very nice. Pretty much an extended range surf. That is, well, you know, whatever. Pretty much an extended range surf for the most part, which is very nice. And it can get up to a maximum base power of 192, which is definitely respectable, 100%. Nothing, no real debate there. And he's got this, his training move, the Chase Continues, which is a 3-gauge one-use move. This guy really likes using gauge. He made himself a little gauge staircase here, now that I look at it, actually. That's funny. That raises his special attack by 6, raises his crit by 3, and applies condition nullification effect to all allied sync pairs. I don't know why they made it cost as much gauge as they did. Not really that necessary, especially when a character like Anniversary Lily exists, and pretty much any other character that maxes their attack or crit in one fell swoop. You could have, at least just made this only 2-gauge. Like, come on. The 3-gauge is quite annoying, especially when you're trying to queue up other moves with other allies that do cost gauge or utilize gauge. But for the most part, this is not that big of a deal. You can kind of work around it, especially because Eusine is not a bad character in terms of gauge performance or gauge utilization, because he does have Recharging Strike 9, which gives him 1 gauge every time a move lands against the enemy. So Whirlpool will be giving you 1 gauge back, Blizzard will be giving you 3 gauge back, and so will Purifying Surf, because those moves are AoE. Assuming you hit all 3 of your targets, right? Like, assuming there are still 3 enemies left, these 2 moves will be giving you 3 gauge back. If there are only 2 enemies left, you'll be getting 2, you know, whatever. He's got Piercing Gaze, his moves will never miss, and Trap and Buff 5 for a 50% DPS and Sync Nuke multiplier when attacking an enemy that is trapped. Not too shabby for sure. And he'll, of course, be able to run Critical Strike 2 as a lucky skill, you know, yada yada, whatever. Or Weathered Warrior, honestly, could definitely viable too. In the base kit, I would say Eusine is not that crazy. The 50% DPS buff is definitely very, very nice, 100%. He's got great gauge efficiency. The base power of Surf is pretty solid, all things considered. I do think, though, that at this point, the low offensive stat is still kind of holding him back, for the simple fact that while he does have a multiplier to help out his damage, it's not enough right now. The grid does help it a lot, but as it is right now, I don't think it's enough to justify his low offensive stat. But again, the grid does help out that more. Or help that out more. Whatever. And of course, he does have very good partners. Being a water type in general, he's going to have great partners. He's going to have Sygna Suit Christopher Rain. They were made to synergize, you know, double SUICUNE, whatever. But of course, also Dahlia with her special defense debuffs and water rebuff, setting Rain with the max move as well. A great partner for Eusine. As well as Neo Champion Serena here with her water rebuff and defensive debuffs, as well as the master passive, is going to be able to empower Eusine as well by quite a bit. Obviously, you could run him with Lysander 2 for double striker. That's definitely very viable, right? A double striker water setup is going to be probably doing a ton of damage. And of course, just in general, any like special enhancing water character is going to be fine. Like Archie with his master passive and the rain setting is going to be pretty decent too. Sygna Suit Lyra with her special defense debuffs and her AoE water damage as well is going to be pretty good. Like, just realistically speaking, a lot of different water partners are going to be good for empowering Eusine. And also, ironically enough, there is another character that is not water that could actually help out Eusine a bit, and that is Ethan. If you want to run a triple Johto setup with Sygna Suit Chris, Eusine, and Sygna Suit Ethan, that is actually relatively viable. I'm not going to say it's going to be beating any ultimate battles or anything, but it does have some team synergy for the fact that Ethan has Extend Range and Whirlpool, which allows him to go for the Whirlpool. The trap, which will be getting all enemies trapped, so you don't have to worry about trapping all enemies with Eusine, meaning his trap and buff 5 is going to be active against all opponents for the entire battle. Well, until the enemy can get rid of their trap by whatever method, right? But still, for the most part, you'll be able to have trap and buff 5 activated pretty much the turn 2, turn 1, whenever you decide to use it with Ethan, right? So that extend range Whirlpool with Sygna Suit Ethan is pretty good for at least activating that. And of course, empowering Eusine with a Johto Spirit Master passive. And of course, applying his own side DPS with Aeroblast being AoE 2, you know, boosted by +3 special moves next. All that good stuff. So, Ethan and Eusine could work relatively well as partners, obviously both being enhanced under Sygna Suit Chris, which of course by herself is also applying a Johto Master passive, giving you a lot of good buffs that way. It's a pretty decent team, all things considered. I don't know if it's the best team for Eusine. I doubt it, especially when, again, Serena and Dahlia exist, but it is definitely not bad, at least in my opinion. When it comes to the grid, at 1 out of 5, Eusine's not really got too much to work with here. 2 out of 5, you guys atmospheric acceleration, I guess. Hostile environment 2 on Blizzard. Entry freebie. KO opponent, ally field, gauge, what the fuck ever. Super duper effective 5 on Blizzard. Super victory, and then Blizzard gauge refresh. So he's got some gauge management abilities, which is not really that necessary because of his recharging strike here, but it could be helpful. It could be just whatever you're fighting, maybe in the gauntlet, right? All of that stuff. He has got KO opponent, allied field, move gauge 9, applying gauge acceleration when the user knocks out an opponent with a move. Same thing with super victory, except to apply super effective next when knocking out an opponent with a move. Could be good for Annabelle or something like that. Like, obviously, Eusine, that's probably going to be the hardest content that Eusine could face super effectively is the Annabelle Ultimate Battle, which he is good at. He is good for sure. He can definitely clear that Ultimate Battle. He was actually the character that I used to clear the Ultimate Battle. Sygna Suit Chris, Eusine, and Neo Champion Serena. Ignore the fact that I just pretty much followed Zinfogel's guide to a T. Oh, boy, whatever. Also does get double down. I failed to notice that. He does get double down too as well. 20% nuking multiplier on top of the 50% from trap and buff. 70% nuking multipliers is still not that great, but I mean, for any water stage other than Annabelle, that's going to be mostly covering it, I would say. Blizzard is going to be obviously getting very enhanced in the damage department with the super duper effective 5, so you're going to be doing some solid on-type ice damage. That might be a little bit more respectable, I guess, to showcase in an Ice Ultimate Battle, but as it stands, any Ice Week stage that Eusine can face is going to be getting shredded by Blizzard. There's not much else that really needs to be said there, I would say. Blizzard's going to be doing relatively respectable damage, you know. It's got 50% multipliers here, 50% here. At 3 out of 5, it's going to get Weathered Warrior 3. It'll be fine, for sure. And then I guess entry freebie could be good for getting the trainer move off, you know, with that 3 gauge usage. That's very gauge hungry for sure. So getting that free moves next there could be good for mitigating that early on in the battle. But for the most part, I think you're going to be fine on using the buddy move, or the trainer move rather. And then Blizzard Hostile Environment 2. I guess, right? You could go for that cheese freeze. Sure. You could go for the freeze cheese if you really wanted to. But I don't really think that's going to be too impactful. I mean, it might be something useful to fish for in like a longer ultimate battle type stage, but for the most part, I don't think that the hostile environment on Blizzard is something you should really be aiming for at least for consistency purposes. So, yeah. And then like atmospheric acceleration, I guess, for 20% gauge buff. Sure, whatever. It's something for gauge, I guess. Though Eusine, again, is already pretty good in helping out with gauge. So I wouldn't say that the 2 out of 5 is that crazy. I would say just go straight up to 3 out of 5 because not at least at 2 out of 5 he does get some enhancements for Blizzard damage, but it's just so much better at 3 out of 5, right? Because he gets Trainer with Propulsion, Weathered Warrior 3, Brain Power, Stationary Target 3, Trap and Sync 5, Sync Think 9, and both Sync nodes and Super Sync. Yippee. So Trainer with Propulsion 9, giving you some Sync countdown, could be useful depending on if you're running him with any other Sync acceleration based character. Can't really see any. Something's up with my nose. My fucking congestion is screwed. Ah, good lord. You could run with like Archie or something, because Archie does have the Radiant Propulsion, I guess. You could try that. You could also run it, of course, with Head Start 1 or any other ally with Head Start 1 or whatever. Could make utilization of propulsion if you wanted to. Generally, though generally speaking, I don't think that you're probably going to be likely to pick this up, because most other characters, at least, who use Sync Countdown-based abilities are, I guess, later in the battle. Like Neo Champion Serena, she uses her Quick Attack by probably turn 3, if that. Right? So it's going to be a little bit too late for Eusine to use his trainer move. And Dahlia, I think she's got max countdown. Yeah, she's got max countdown at 4 to 5. And I think other than that, she doesn't even have any sync countdown based abilities, does she? Yeah, she doesn't have any other sync countdown based abilities. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit late in the battle to make full utilization of Propulsion 9 on using his trainer move, unless you want to pick up like trainer move NPR, I guess, which is I guess, viable, but I don't really see too much massive use in that other than just going for another Purifying Surf for some damage. Weathered Warrior 3 for a 30% DPS and nuke multiplier, Brain Power for a 100% nuke multiplier, Trap and Sync for a 50% nuke multiplier, and then Stationary Target 3 for a 30% DPS multiplier. Yeah, he's got a lot of them, right? If we want to tally it all up, in total DPS related options, he's got 30% here, 30% here, and 50% here, giving him 110% in total DPS multipliers, on top of Crit Strike 2, which is 130% if you want to pick that up, or Weathered Warrior, which is then 140%, which is definitely going to be looking good off of a 176 base power Purifying Surf. This is why his offensive stats are as low as they would be considered to be, because he's obviously able to get up to 140% total DPS multipliers, which is going to be quite respectable for damage. And then in total nuking multipliers, he's got 100% from Brain Power, 30% from Weathered Warrior, Trap and Sync 5, as well as Trap and Buff 5, 50%, 50%, 100%. That's 200% and 230% total multipliers for his nuke, 260% with Weathered Warrior 3 as a lucky skill. That's also very respectable for a striker. Honestly, that is very, very respectable for a striker nuke. 100%. Like, there's... Again, that is why his offenses are so low, because even like with 50 more in the offensive stat, he would have one of the probably the best striker nukes in the game, right? 260% in total nuking multipliers as a striker. It's pretty wild, especially now that he's got the Techie Axe roll. He's got up to like 462 here in the total power. That's pretty insane. Though, if I am going to be honest, I think a lot of Eusine's multipliers here are quote-unquote hypothetical only, if that makes sense, because I don't think you're able to pick up everything. For the simple fact that Brain Power is trapped behind a lot of stuff here, you may struggle quite a bit to actually pull off everything, right? Like, you can pull off all this, but then you're missing out on 30% in stationary target damage, so just consider not everything is probably going to be able to be picked up. Like, look at that. That is way too expensive, all things considered, right? I would just probably miss out on Stationary Target 3. Just pick up Weathered Warrior 3. If you're not going to be able to pick up Weathered Warrior 3, then Stationary Target 3 is pretty valid, right? You can still invest in that with the extra sync or any extra sync orbs you may have. But really, you're probably going to be running Eusine under Rain because of all the good options he has for Rain. Or Hail, of course, if you're going to be running him under Irida for enhancement of Blizzard damage. That's also a viable option. Though, obviously, consider he's not going to be an amazing DPS damage dealer for Blizzard damage. Let's not get it twisted here. He's not going to be a top tier ice option, even on type, right? So yeah, with all of this stuff, he's definitely got a lot of great tools to handle any water weak stage. He's going to be decimating pretty much any water weak stage without really much question, especially with amazing partners like Serena, Sygna Suit Lysander for double DPS, Dahlia, Sygna Suit Chris, you know, Neo Champion Calum even for rain support and special moves next and whatnot. All of that stuff, they're going to be great partners. They're all going to be great partners. He's going to be doing really good because of all that, and he's got a very solid, water damage dealer. Again, he is kind of held back by the fact that his offensive stats are a tiny bit low, and we can kind of notice that here from the chart here if we want to look at all of what Eusine's able to do. I think, yeah, they like to focus on his Blizzard damage first. Buddy Surf has 917,000 damage, which, if we want to look at other characters similar to that, it is similar to like Hala's Ice Hammer or Silver's Solar Beam, stuff like that. Which, of course, running under Weathered Warrior 3. Actually, I think this is the grid that I built. I don't know why. Okay. Sure, whatever. I don't know why it's running like that. Actually, no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I don't know. Whatever. Sure. Either way, 917,000, comparable to some of these other characters with this investment, though this does not consider the EX roll. This is purely strike. This does not consider the EX roll's power increase for Eusine, so keep that in mind, that we are kind of looking at a little bit of an underpowered Eusine compared to what he's got now fully available to him. And then, I guess looking at, I think this should be Eusine's nuke, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 2.8 million, comparable to Sygna Suit Lucamine Striker nuke without the support EX roll, comparable to Sygna Suit Cynthia's nuke after, I believe, after her grid expansion. Yeah, after her grid expansion and whatnot, all that stuff. So still relatively respectable nuke for the most part. And again, not considering the Techie Axe roll, which is going to be a massive increase in his overall damage department. Damage department, I can't speak, though it is also pretty similar to Red and Venusaur, which is definitely not bad, 100%. No complaints there. I guess we want to look at I don't really know who we could look at here for a similar judgment, I guess. Like, Adam's not really a good look. Blaine doesn't have an EX roll. Like, if I guess Candace. I guess we want to look at a similar nuke enhancement level. Probably Candace, Palatine's Candace, because she does also have the EX roll, right? So I guess if we want to go ahead and look at that. Strike plus Tech, that's Icicle Crash. I'm trying to look at her nuking stuff here. Does it have it? This is annoying. Yeah, Strike plus Tech, 4.7 million. That definitely is going to be a far better nuke for sure. That's definitely going to be a very, very enhanced nuke for Eusine. So, in general, he's going to be getting a very good nuke from the Tech EX roll, and I will be showcasing him tomorrow. So, keep all that in mind, all that good stuff, yada yada. So, yeah. Alright, and looking at his 4 out of 5 tile, sorry, 5 out of 5 tiles. As well, he's got attack trap 4 with the 50% chance of leaving the target trapped when attack move is successful against target whatever. This is not bad for sure if you want to trap one enemy with Whirlpool and then trap the rest by using Purifying Surf. That definitely does help out quite a lot. Don't think it's generally going to be too useful to pick up, though. I mean, I guess with full investment, right, you could pick it up. It is also a 4 out of 5 tile, so you could just invest full energy, still get the full nuking stuff from Eusine, and still be able to get all of this. And also, you could just also invest a little bit extra energy, or sorry, less energy rather, because you can just get rid of that Surf power node there. Not too bad there. And then he's also got Disarm 5 here, sorry, Disarm 9 of 5 out of 5, which debuffs enemy attack and special attack when attacking an enemy that is affected by Ace interference. So you will be getting those attack and special attack debuffs. I think this is mostly useful for Annabelle or any Legendary Gauntlet solo or duo or whatever that Eusine's able to be good in, because Eusine's already, I think, going to be quite good for decent for a striker character in a legendary gauntlet. Like, obviously I don't think he's clearing too many stages, but he is quite gauge efficient, and of course being able to debuff stats is helpful. The big thing he lacks is any like healing and actual other defensive prowess like evasion or accuracy debuffs or buffing his own defenses. I guess the attack debuffs are nice, but you know, that's about all he's got going for him for the most part. Not bad in duos though, for sure. I would say, especially good gauge efficiency, you know, all that good stuff. He does get Danger Damage Guard and Super Freebie 4, but for the most part, I don't think these nodes are worth going for. Super Freebie's not that great because he is already very gauge efficient, and Danger Damage Guard, giving him Damage Guard is mostly pretty random, I would say, and not bad, but like, I probably just would never pick it up over things like DPS options or even Disarm, realistically speaking. So, it's not a bad node though, but I think it's mostly just filler. I would say that, honestly, the bottom nodes are the only ones you should really worry about. Disarm, again, can be good for Annabelle, making sure, you know, Fluid Fortification is not activated, and of course good for any Gauntlet stage where you want to debuff enemy offenses, which is all of them, right, where applicable. And then Attack Trap 4 can be good for helping out with getting the sides trapped or something like that, right? Could be good, could be bad, or not could be bad, could be good, could be not worth going for. I'm not really too sure. I honestly have not really had too many issues using Eusine without having the sides trapped for the most part. I don't really tend to face that problem too much. But of course, Eusine does have a few different ways to handle that, right? Again, Attack Trap 4 is not a bad node to pick up. 4 out of 5 is not too hard to pick up either. And of course, you could run him like with Sygna Suit Ethan as stated, and maybe some other character that has Whirlpool. Like, I think May here. No, she doesn't have Whirlpool. Who's the other water type character that does actually have Whirlpool that I can't think of off the top of my head? There was another one here that does have Whirlpool, but I just straight up am losing them in my head. Wallace, I guess? No, whatever. I don't know. I lost it, but whatever. It's fine, I guess. Point being, Eusine's a pretty solid striker. He's got amazing nodes for DPS and nuking. He's got good potential to do extra damage, and he's enhanced further now by the Tech EX roll. He's definitely a good investment at 3 out of 5. Could invest a little bit more at 4 out of 5 for Attack Trap 4 if you really think it's worthwhile. That's fully up to you. And at the end of the day, he's going to be a very good character for any Water Week stage you may face. I'll try to get some showcases out tomorrow for him. I'm not really sure how that works. I need to look at stadium weaknesses and think of a few different strategies. I will be trying him out with his EX roll versus Annabelle's ultimate battle, for the simple fact that I think that is definitely worth looking at and seeing how much extra damage he can do, because he's already capable of clearing Annabelle's ultimate battle without too much issue, you know, with Serena and Chris and whatnot and other big investment partners. But I want to see just how much the Tech X role is able to make him dominate that stage even further. So yeah, I'll be sure to try and put out a showcase tomorrow. No promises because of work and everything as well, but we'll see. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this banner. I don't think the banner's actual value is that crazy because again, both of these characters are mostly outclassed in terms of being damage dealers for their field, and their utility-based abilities, in my opinion, are not enough to justify making them worth going for in their respective types, just due to other better options, whether it be in damage or I guess in utility purposes, right? So keep that in mind. But either way, not a bad set of characters, 100%. If you do like both of these characters outfit-wise or pair-wise or whatever, it's always going to be worth going for them because they are still good. They do still function quite well, but just, of course, being outclassed is a big part of this game in terms of the meta purposes. I still have Eusine. I still love running Eusine, and I will, of course, again, be showcasing him. So, yeah. I'll see you all there. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace out. Have a great day. Yada, yada. All that shit.